So officially, it was sleep apnea leads to cardiac arrest.
Right.
But you don't really think that's what killed your sister.
Well, you know, a lifetime of medications, starting when she was a young teenager, was certainly a contributor. You can't ignore the fact that when Carrie was very young, she had sleep issues. And back in those days, you know, the doctors prescribed small, mild sleeping medications. And then when we were teenagers, the dentist gave Carrie some Percodan. And
Percodan?
Percodan. Well, for your teeth surgery or whatever, which I guess was common in that time. In fact, I had my wisdom teeth pulled. They gave me Percodan, and I hated it. And Carrie was like, "Oh, well, if you don't want that, I'll take it." And I was like, "Okay," because you know what do we know, right? So you know, she began with those kind of medications. We also got high together, like many teenagers did in the 60s and 70s. I just never progressed the way she did. She kept finding more and more interesting drugs that she wanted to try. I didn't find it that interesting. I liked to be in control. She liked to be out of control, or in control, or out of control at her control, meaning as you take things. So what ended up occurring is that she had a lifetime of drugs. When she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, the doctor stepped in with psychotropic drugs. Then she ends up in rehabs, of course, for drug abuse. They give other drugs in that. And now all of a sudden you have this myriad of drugs. And back in the day, we talk about the California diet. It's pretty famous. Right. My mother did a film called Behind the Candelabra, where they're, talk about this literally a diet of pills. And that's what happened. You know, Carrie was given a diet of pills, whether they be opioids or other types of psychotropic drugs to control the bipolar. I never saw so many pills at different times in her life.
But was this the norm, or were these doctors playing to the fact that your mother was world famous, iconic, your sister's famous, they just want to be involved in managing them, and they became pill mills? Well,
in the early days, of course, that was the trend. But later on in the last, say, 15, 20 years, there was a consciousness that perhaps, you shouldn't just give an unlimited amount of pills. As people died, when John Belushi died and other people died, it scared people. Of course, Michael Jackson scared people. My sister would see these things and be scared by that. And sometimes that would shock her into staying sober for periods of time. But she was never able to be sober, and it partly had to do with her bipolar disorder. And people don't understand this mood swing thing. One minute she named her moods, Roy and Pam, rollicking Roy. So when she's on the high end of the roller coaster, it's rollicking Roy. When you're depressed, it was Pam, sediment Pam. And she would, and in between is when she lives in our realm, the normal realm, so-called normal realm. But some of her most creative times in life were in that journey. So the writing that you see, all these books and all these amazing quotes that Carrie comes up with, were generally happening during these journeys of mood swings.
So just in terms of the tales of warning, you were with Belushi the night he died.
Right.
But that didn't scare her enough to say, this is not the right path forward?
Yeah, every time it scared her. Every time. Every time one of these things would happen. Her best friend died at her house, and it scared her to want to be sober again. But we went through so many rehabs together that clearly one could say she could have taught the rehab easily. I mean, I'm not kidding. She was, first of all, a very intelligent young lady, and she knew the material backwards and forward. It had nothing to do with it. It had to do with this overwhelming mood swings that were uncontrollable, and a desire. Nobody knows what it's like to live inside that body. None of us know what it's like to be inside of our loved one that's going through this. Only they know. They tell the doctor, this is what I'm feeling. Doctor says, let me adjust your medication. But that's not always there 24/7, so they want to adjust their own medications.
Looking back on your sister, what is it that made America fall in love with her? Why do people adore her so?
I think just incredible, brutal honesty. Where she used to say, our family wears our underwear on the outside of our clothing. and that's how she lived her life.
Well, your family's left a mark, not just on Hollywood, but the entire planet. It is wonderful to hear you open up as they did about their lives. And I think My Girls is brilliantly written.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Kudos
Thank you.
to you for it. And by the way, pick up a copy of Todd's memoir, share with folks you care about. It's called My Girls, a lifetime with Carrie and Debbie, an honest portrayal. We'll be right back. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on new videos to live the good life.